and I started to self-identify, not with David Icke as who I am, but as what I'm experiencing. But what I am is consciousness having the experience. That's what's leaving the body at what we call a near-death experience. When people leave the body, they've got no eyes, but they can still see. They've got no brain, but they can still think. It's because they are consciousness, and consciousness has the ability to hear, think, everything. But the body, what the body does, you think of consciousness. Consciousness does not, if you like, vibrate. It's not within the frequency band of this reality we're experiencing. So it's like Radio 1, Radio 2, Radio 3 or 4 are all sharing the same space, but they don't interfere with each other. Why? Because they're not on the same frequency. So consciousness is not in the range of frequency that we are directly experiencing in what we call the physical world. So to experience this band of frequency, this reality, our consciousness takes on what we call an external form, which is operating within the frequency band of this world. And because of that, I can pick that glass up. My consciousness could not pick that glass up because it's on a completely different frequency to the glass. But operating through this outer shell, what I call a biological computer, it can pick the glass up because there are compatible frequencies.
Do you think, sorry David, do you think there's other species on this planet? Because you've spoke about that quite a lot. You've wrote over 20 books. Do you think there's other people walking among us as well?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, let's put this again into context. According to mainstream science, if you compare the size of planet Earth with the projected size of the universe, planet Earth is the equivalent of a billionth of a pinhead. So, if you say that life as we know it only exists on a billionth of a pinhead within the greater reality, you are, well, that's credible. You could be an academic saying that, but you say, actually, hold on a minute. Elephant, living room, sofa, billionth of a pinhead, night sky, which is a tiny fraction even of one galaxy, and there's billions of galaxies in the universe, they say now. Despite all that, life is... I'm having a problem.
That microphone's getting a
We're going to fall out, Mike. But we're saying that life as we know it only exists on a billionth of a pinhead and nowhere else. I mean, it's insanity. And then you think this. Look at the vastness of different forms that exist in animals, in insects, in nature, in all of it. Even in the human race. Look at someone from China or someone from Asia and someone from South America, from South Africa, from Europe. Look at the differences. You look at the range of form, of different form and expressions of form that exist within a smear of 0.005% of the universe. What the heck? In the infinity beyond this reality, which is in almost the entirety of everything, what the heck exists out there in terms of form, and different expressions of consciousness?
How do we know what's out there, David? See, I'm a man who questions everything. Unless I see it with my own eyes, I struggle to believe it. And people say, oh, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, and we touched on it earlier. Everything's a conspiracy because unless you see it with your own eyes, everything is the way you perceive things, or your perception. How do we actually know what's out there? How do we know we're not in a snow globe? How do we know the world's not flat or round? How do we know the answers?
Well, basically, you don't, in terms of, every I dotted and every T crossed. All you can do is put the information that you have across together and come to conclusions. That's all you can really do. But, when I'm talking about non-human races interacting with and manipulating human society, I've not sat in a darkened room and pulled it out the bloody ether, smoking a weed. I've been to more than 60 countries over 30 years researching this. I've talked to whistleblowers on the inside of the American military and intelligence complex, many of them. I've talked to shamans around the world who are carriers of the ancient knowledge of those societies. And when you put what the two say together, you get the same answer, that yes, there is a non-human force that is manipulating human society. And you see it in ancient accounts. You see the common themes around the world in different cultures describing the same thing. And you see one common theme, for instance, which is that this non-human force manipulated human genetics. This comes out in the Old Testament, for instance, as the sons of God who interbred with the daughters of men. People say, "Oh, that's in the Bible." Well, yes, it is, but the theme is everywhere in non-Bible countries galore, cultures galore. And so you put it all together and you come to conclusions. Then you write it down, you connect the dots, and then you put it out, and then people decide whether they want to believe it or not. That's the deal. But when you look at how narrow the band is that we can see and perceive, my experience over the last 30 years says to me that's not an accident. Mm-hmm. Somehow human genetics has been manipulated to only perceive a very narrow band of reality, which makes us obviously far more controllable. And
you always talk about being controlled. They're talking about, you spoke about it years ago, David, about kids getting microchipped, and now we're getting microchipped where they can follow us about. And the Illuminati, can you touch on that? The small percentage of the people who control the world?
Well, one of the things that is a head shaker to me, and I smile to myself these days, is over the years people have told me, authority is trying to tell me even more now, that I'm wrong, and because I'm wrong I can't say what I'm saying and write what I'm writing. And then they proved me bloody right. I said back in the 90s when I was producing the first books that there was a plan for the world, and that plan included the destruction of freedom of speech and the creation of a centrally controlled global fascist, communist, Marxist, whatever you want to call it, state. They're all different terms for the same tyranny. That this included microchipping the population. Don't even start me on that. It's way along the line already. And that money would be taken out of circulation, so only cashless digital money would be used, which has fundamental implications for freedom and control, and a stream of other things which have all come true. And the reason I could do that is very simple. How did Aldous Huxley in 1932 in his book Brave New World, how was he able to describe genetic, drug and other things that in a dystopian way that is now happening? How could George Orwell be so accurate in 1948? What about the other people that I quote in my books, insiders way back, who were saying this is what's going to happen because this is the plan? And it's all happening in detail, not even theme, detail, because there is a plan, there is a script. And what I've done for the last 30 years is work to uncover what that is. And once you know what's planned, predicting the future is quite straightforward. That's why so many, I see my books from the 1990s read on the TV news every day now, in changes in society. It's because I have this phrase, know the outcome and you'll see the journey. If you don't know what the outcome is planned to be, then what happens in the world, in world events and daily happenings, appear to be random. They seem to have no pattern, they seem to have no rhyme and reason, they just happen. Or you blame them on something else. When you know what the outcome is planned to be, which is what I've been uncovering all these years, then you start to see that these apparently random events are not random at all. They are stepping stones towards the outcome. We talk about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is being systematically destroyed. And I'll give you the outcome on that. The outcome, desired outcome, is that there comes a point which we're moving towards so fast when no one will ever see or hear anything that is not acceptable to the authorities, to the system.